Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button. And if you're returning, welcome back. I truly do appreciate your continued support on my channel, and I hope that you are subscribed as well. And this is just your daily reminder to at least, get used to using Rumble. I love your support on either platform, but we do need to support platforms that support free speech, and YouTube really struggles with that sometimes. So it's been about 2.5 weeks since this unprecedented fire, this historical fire that took out an entire town in Maui, which is the town of Lahaina. We know at this point that over 100 people are dead. The last number I heard was about 115. We have also heard that at least over 1,000 people so far are unaccounted for, and unfortunately, tragically, a large number of those people that have been that they haven't been able to find yet could potentially be children, because children were home from school that day. School had been canceled, but of course the parents still had to go to work. And this thing started to happen pretty quickly, and for whatever reason, the people in charge of the emergency system chose not to use the sirens to alert people that something was happening that they needed to be aware of, which would have given parents time to either come home from work and get their kids, or to contact their children or neighbors in the area to get their children out to safety. So I don't know that there's going to ever be any explanation that is going to be sufficient to explain why those sirens were not used, because that is literally what they are there for. And it is borderline murder to not use those things when especially something this quick and this fierce and this fast and this inescapable is closing in on a community. There are people that have been found in their home incinerated on the spot because this did happen so fast and the heat was so intense, and it happened faster than they could even react. And shockingly, or perhaps not shockingly, the media really hasn't had anything to say about it, at least not in a way that would demonstrate any kind of actual human compassion or wanting to know what the cause was, what could have been done, what could have been changed, where the failures were. None of that. The only thing that they really want to talk about is that this was probably caused by climate change, which means that you have to give up your vehicles and your gas stoves, and that's going to solve everything. Oh, and be sure to let Democrats be in charge, because they're just going to be able to stop these disasters completely. These are the people that claim to be so concerned with the health and safety of the general public. As we speak, they are actually trying to bring back mask mandates and COVID vaccine mandates because, again, they care so much about our health and well-being, yet they have no interest in a situation where people are actually suffering and dying. So these situations do have to make you wonder, especially when they're choosing not to actually talk about the topics that are relevant to the disaster that people actually want to discuss. What information are they avoiding? Whose stories are they refusing to tell? What exactly are they trying to keep people from questioning? And as much as I dislike things like TikTok and Snapchat and whatever other social media apps that people have these days, because there's a million of them, one positive thing that comes from these things is that people, when they go through any kind of disaster, any kind of crisis, or they experience some kind of catastrophe in their life, they don't have to rely on the media or professional camera crews or reporting teams to get their stories out there. You can get out there and share your story, and you can give a personal firsthand account of what is happening. And a lot of times that doesn't line up with what the media is saying. So I want to know what happened. I want to know what these people actually went through, what they experienced, what they were seeing happening around them. This was a local real estate agent who apparently spends part of his time being a citizen journalist, and he was just going around conducting street interviews, and he was talking to this Lahaina resident named, well, his nickname is Fish. I don't know what his actual name is. But Fish had some very interesting things to say about the evacuation process, or lack thereof.
Took me about an hour and a half to just get some orange juice, and so it was about 4 o'clock, and I went out and I saw the fire, and you couldn't even see the gateway because it was covered with smoke, and everyone's standing around just looking. And I said, I think we should get out of here because of the speed of this wind. It could be here in 2 minutes. So I went around back to Front Street, and all the cars were lined up, but none of them were moving. And I walked all the way from Safeway to the chart house. Not one car had moved. And I was wondering what was stopping the traffic. Well, it was a policeman. And I got to the end and I looked up north. There were no obstructions. There was no reason to keep those cars there.
Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart attack. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm under orders to keep them here. And I said, the fire is right around Safeway. It's going to hit Front Street. You know, these people got to get out of here. And he said, I'm following orders.
No way.
And so I just kept walking. And I, well, maybe he knows something I don't, you know. So, and I keep walking down the highway, and I look behind, no cars are coming out. I walked all the way to Waikuli Beach, still no cars coming out. And I started hearing boom, boom, boom. And then I heard people screaming and stuff.
You're saying they were blockaded in by the police at the end of Front Street?
Yeah.
Like where the restaurant is?
Right, where the chart house
Where
was.
the chart house was, I should
Right.
say. There was a blockade there, and they could not go any further.
Right. I walked.
What the hell?
I walked all the way from Safeway to there. Not one car had moved, and people walking in front of me. The people in the cars are saying, "Would you like a ride?" And they're going, "Oh, okay." And they'd get in. They asked me, I go, "No, you better get out of here." You know. But they just, well, we were told to evacuate by car.
So first he was saying that he went to the grocery store and he could see the fire coming, and he was telling people, we need to get out of here. This is going to be here in a couple of minutes. And at that point, you would think that you would hear sirens going off if it was that close, and they didn't. And then they were told to evacuate by vehicle, and they all got out there and everybody was stopped and they couldn't figure out why. And the police officer that he talked to said that he was under orders to block the road off. And I've heard people say that it was because of downed power lines. That is why they blocked the road, and that's why police officers were preventing people from exiting in that direction. But as I said in my last video, I have been to Lahaina, and there's one main highway in and out of that town. It's not like there's a bunch of options as far as exiting. So knowing that this fire is closing in on people, they probably knew as well that the water supply was limited and inaccessible in some areas, which would mean that it would not be safe to go back to their homes because there's no way to keep the fire at bay. Their priority should have been that highway to make it safe, to get the power lines out of the way, because what you're doing is you're saying it's not safe to go this way, to drive past potentially down power lines, so we're going to send you back to this blazing fire that we don't have the ability to put out. It makes sense at all. So they should have been using the firemen and the police officers and anybody else that they get access to make the road as safe as possible for people to leave.
Look at this. Holy shit. This is a nightmare. I don't know where he's going. Probably to block our street. They're gonna fucking barbecue all these people down in Lahaina. We're all trapped down in here. They're blocking off all exits. And everyone is just stuck. Going in a circle in a fire pit.
And I've seen numerous videos like that, people confirming that this is what was happening, that they were essentially circling around in this area, and the fire was just getting worse and worse, and the smoke was becoming unbearable. And they found people, actually a lot of people, dead in their cars.
It was a firestorm. I know what. There was tornadoes of ash the size of charcoal from a barbecue, like being thrown by baseball players. I'm ducking behind walls. There's like 80 people, and the ocean was on fire. The firefighter told me because the first layer of ash causes a seal, and then the next layer of ash was all the embers. So the tide line was on fire, and I had to jump through the water and come up through the fire. And 80 people, they were on the wall. Everybody started jumping in. Coast Guard was out there grabbing people. And I was like, no, I'm good. I was born in the water. I'm a Kai. And they're grabbing people. It was like nothing you've ever seen. This was bad, that the people in their cars that were dead and from asphyxiation, and the fire blew out the car, and you just saw the numbers of the dead are so wrong.
So people are giving these accounts of what actually happened, and it is absolutely unbelievable. You know, people literally trapped in this town with nowhere to go, and the only option they have is to jump in the ocean. And we've seen those videos. We've seen people, you know, just swimming and bobbing in the water and watching their entire town burn. And it's just an unbelievable situation to even imagine. So after all was said and done, people did come together to take care of each other as best they could and distribute the resources that they had available, and to try to get shelter for people who had lost their homes, because they knew it would probably be a minute before any kind of assistance would be able to get in, before FEMA could get in there, before any other kinds of aid would be available. But they were surprised when it went day after day after day, and there was no relief. They were offered one-time $700 checks, and a story from Joe Biden about how his kitchen caught on fire once and he almost lost his cat. This is what people had to say about that.
Where's our government? Fix your house before you fix somebody else's house.
Is this how, like, your community, other Hawaiians you know, locals, indigenous people, is that how they feel, pretty much how you feel?
Everybody feels that way. Come on. That's why the local people stick together and we help our own people, because we know the outside people are not going to do it.
People have nothing. They don't have ability to get money out of the bank. They don't have money to purchase medicine that they need. They've lost their pets. They've lost their families. They've lost their homes and their cars. They've lost everything. Yet we have a government that is sending billions of dollars to another country for those people in crisis. Yet these people have been left hanging with their $700 payment. And then there were people talking about how there are real estate developers who have descended on these people that just went through this unbelievable situation and are offering or trying to purchase their land where their homes once were, where their entire lives once were, and trying to purchase them for minuscule amounts.
I think right now we just need the prayers, and, you know, we need the money to rebuild our town. This is going to be a long road ahead of us, and we're just trying to fundraise and make sure that the displaced families can go back home one day. There's a lot of real estate speculation happening right now that is really frustrating, and I just want to remind all you real estate investors around the world, like, Lahaina is not for sale. Please don't reach out to these families and take advantage of them during the most devastating time of our lives.
You know, we just heard from our reporter and from a couple of women who say that they were upset about what tourists were doing. Now you're telling me that there are real estate investors reaching out to people about their property. What's going on exactly?
Yes, homeowners have been reached out by investors and realtors offering to buy their land. And this is disgusting, and we just want to make sure that people around the world understand our situation and know that Lahaina is not for sale. It is important that the multi-generational families that come from Lahaina get to continue to live in our hometown.
So I don't want to get all conspiracy theorist-y on people, but the best way to prevent people from conspiracy theorizing is to be transparent. And when we leave a situation with more questions than answers, that is the perfect breeding ground for these ideas. But this situation is just presenting so many more questions than answers. I want to know, why were people not warned? Why were the sirens not used? Why was the water supply limited? Why were the roads blocked? Why couldn't people leave? There have been almost no aid offered to these people. And why are they only getting one-time $700 checks? And why was this specific area burned, but not the wealthy homes surrounding them? And why are there people desperate to buy the land? It sure seems to me like the government is doing as little as possible for these people that it makes it nearly impossible for them to want to stay or to be able to stay or to have the opportunity to rebuild, so that these investors can have this land and do what they want with it. Maybe they want to put in a 15-minute city. Biden said they want to come in and rebuild something better. Perhaps reimagine Lahaina. We just have another historic disaster on our hands that has devastated American citizens. And once again, we really don't know what's going on. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please continue to pray for these people. Know of any organizations that we can donate to and send goods to, please link those down below in the comments and direct people to legitimate organizations. I really hope that we get the answers that we need, but seeing as how every disaster ends with being ignored and not having our questions answered, I'm pretty sure that this is going to be met with the same level of transparency and honesty. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, and I will see you in the next one.